Hi, welcome back. In the second part of my showing off my completed Ogre Kingdoms army mini-series here, I'm going to move into the core choices, which will begin with my bulls. My bulls, as you can see, there are 14 of them, 2 units, 6 and 8, and there will be expansions to these guys in the future, probably up to 9 for each. I don't think I need much more than that, and it would allow me to have a fairly good sized single horde for 8th edition. Bulls are a pretty cool unit as far as Warhammer Fantasy goes, because as a core choice, they make up the bulk of your army most likely, unless you're going to focus on, say, Iron Guts. You're probably not going to look at the Noblars as a core outside of the, I believe it was 6th edition Noblar list. Now, what makes these guys so cool, in my opinion, is their size. And because they're so large, they're some of the more detailed miniatures from the period they came out, which was the early 2000s. Most minis were quite flat, and even the, things like the Warriors of Chaos and the this what they call the Saurus. They were larger models. The orcs a little bit bigger than, say, humans, Skaven, dwarves, but limited in the amount of details I find when I paint some of those models. But the ogres are just like covered in these little details, like the musculature on their bodies, the gut plates, the all the different beards and facial expressions that these guys have, and they just really were really fun to paint. As models to put together, they're really simple. It's just a matter of attaching a gut plate and a head, 2 arms, and what is it? The feet. Not the feet even, sorry, but like the metal rims of their boots. That's all you really have to do. You just got to put on these, was that like 6 pieces? And they're ready to go. When you're holding them, they're just very nice, large pieces, as you can see. I mean, they just really feel good to hold when you're painting. And unlike most models, I don't find I need anything like a painting handle or, whatever other option you might use. I just don't find they need them because they already are really comfortable to hold. The guys that I painted, I really tried to mix up the tones of their skin as much as possible. I didn't want to go with the old 6th edition. I don't think the ogre skin. If you know 6th edition, ogre skin is like a green gray. I don't like it. I find that it's just kind of weird looking. And when later editions come out, 8th edition, and I guess Age of Sigmar, they don't use that paint scheme. And I think it's because Games Workshop even recognized it's not the nicest paint scheme. I'm not even sure that was used uniformly in the original 6th edition army book. But I decided I wasn't going to use that. Carrying on my theme of the Great Feast migration, these guys are bloody. Their weapons and equipment are not well kept. That's why there's lots of rust and just in general dirt, oxidization, depending on what the metal is. And just different colors. I wanted them to be colorful. And some also have markings. I'm probably going to go back and add these markings to the rest of the minis, the blue. I just decided to not on all of them, just so that there was just something different in the units. Pretty much, I would say more than half of the ogres have these blue markings somewhere, so I just wanted to not have them on everybody, is really all it came down to. Actually, there's one other thing that I like about the Ogre Bulls. It's their musician. This guy's called a bellower. He just yells, and I really appreciate that they didn't give them drums or anything, and that they really are just these big, brutal oafs coming out of the mountains just yelling. And this guy here, his job is to, I guess, yell the loudest to make sure everybody, all the other ogres, know what's going on. So the only thing I skipped on these guys when I'm looking at them is the lookout noblars. There's like little crow's nests for a pirate ship kind of thing that you can put up there with a noblar to look out, which gives you I guess a reroll for your lookouts or something like that. I do use them, but I have it on the sprue still. I just never took them off because I didn't want to paint them at the time, so I just need to finish painting those, I guess. Can't quite say that the whole army is painted, but, you know, it's just one little detail. I'll come back to it. I just needed a break at certain points, and skipping on things like that were just little choices I made. I'm going to move these guys off. I have one more unit to show in this video. Like I said, I'm planning to try to keep these much shorter than the last one was. No, they're over here. These guys here, they're the Iron Guts. Now, the Iron Guts, oops, just bumped my camera. Iron Guts are the bodyguard unit. These guys have heavy armor versus light. Actually, I should have covered that. These guys here, they wear light armor, and they have a hand weapon, and then they have the option of a second hand weapon, which would be this guy, or they could have an iron fist. And this thing here counts as a shield in 8th edition, and in 6th edition it counts as a second weapon as well. I believe that's what it is. So they're light armor and shield. These guys just have heavy armor. They don't get a shield because they're carrying great weapons. And they use the exact same body. And pretty much everything's the same on these guys. The only thing that's different is you get new head options. You get a different banner option. And they come with great weapons. Otherwise, it's exactly the same. Nothing is new on them. Oh, and the gut plates. The gut plates are also new. But the core basic model, the body and the shoes, the boots, they're all the same. And that's a theme that the ogres use. The ogres share a body for all their ogre troops, who are not characters. And they just swap out arms and heads and gut plates in some cases. Not even every case. If I had one complaint about this kit, it's that you don't actually get enough stuff. You get 4 great weapons. And I believe it's 6 that comes in the modern set. I think they might have been 4 once, but I'm pretty sure it's still 6 you get. You can't give them all a great weapon. I'd have to look that up to confirm. I probably should have done that before this video. I just never really thought of it till just now, because it's kind of a complaint I had months ago when I was doing these guys. But it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, they gave me a box set of what appears to be 4, I think it was, in the box. But then, who wants 4 models? Even in Age of Sigmar, you wouldn't want 4 of them. You'd want more. And that's why I guess you're supposed to use the banner and the bellower. Now, in his case, I did make a custom kind of this like great weapon. It's like a bunch of blades all... Oops. It's a bunch of blades that are stuck together here. I'm trying to decide what to do to make it look more like it's cobbled together. I'm probably just going to wrap some jeweler's chain around it. But I have to get some. I'm out of it right now. Otherwise, there's nothing really to say about them as a kit. They go together well. They look cool. I wish there were more weapons in the kit. Also, the fact that there is only 4 weapon options. Even if there's only 4 in the box, there's only 4 weapon options. And I don't like that. I like some variation in my units when they're not like the very uniform militaristic, like, high elves, dwarves, um, empire, stuff like that, where they're going to be the same because it's like an issued weapon. That makes sense. But when it gets into like the orcs, the skaven, beastmen, ogres, even chaos, I want a good variety of weapons so that I can really mix and match and change that up. And there's just not really a choice here. You know, how is and there's no actual one-handed great weapon. Like there's no option to have a great weapon that has one hand. They all have the hands built on. And that means that for guys like the Bellower and the Standard Bearer, you don't have an option to give them a great weapon that looks right. I'm going to lower this. Actually, I'm looking at this. This seems a bit bright. Oops. There. I think my kid was messing with it earlier. I wasn't even really noticing it right away that it was quite bright. But yeah, they're definitely cool models. They look nice. And I had fun painting them. I had fun with this whole army as far as painting goes, just because I did get to, I don't know, do something messy. I'm used to doing things like Imperial Guard with camouflage, or, uniforms. Empire with uniforms. And it's nice when I can do an army that's not uniform. I like that. I like the ability to be more messy at times. And with the ogres, I really thought the ogres were a good chance to be messy. I did not see them being a hygienic race. And that's why I decided that, who cares if they're covered in blood and rust and all that. It's just something to let me use up that pot of blood for the blood god that I've had for years and years and years. And just, go to town on that stuff. And I will say that as somebody who, I don't consider myself a competition painter, but, I do okay work. It's nice to also have the option to not take my time as much on every single model and have to worry about making sure that everything is neat all the time. And sometimes, having a mistake that you look at and you say, I should go back and fix that, I should redo that. It's nice to have the option to just cover it with blood. There's definitely mistakes on my ogres that other armies I'd have had to go back, I'd have had to either repaint a section or maybe even strip a section with like Q-tips and alcohol and whatnot to go back down to like the base paint. I didn't have to do that with these guys as much because most mistakes I was able to just, say, okay, well, I'll put some of the blue tattoo over that. I'll put some rust over that. I'll put a bunch of blood over that. And I think not only did that make the whole process more enjoyable because I didn't feel as much pressure to make sure I wasn't messing something up that I couldn't, fix easily later. It just really gave me a lot of freedom to just have an army that doesn't look like the rest of my armies. Most of my armies, even my Skaven, they're not the cleanest paint jobs ever because I decided again to go a messed up route with them to make them look like they're a disheveled horde, but I still have clean lines on them in most places where the models allowed for it. These guys here, just something different, and it was fun. So that is my core. I don't have any Noblars. I've said that a couple times, I believe, but eventually I'll add some Noblars, probably Trappers, though. I don't see a reason to add a little block of Noblars. I used them back in 6th edition, and I could never find a use for them that Trappers couldn't do, the same thing for me. As far as chaff and redirection and whatnot goes. So yeah, thanks very much for tuning in. As always, if you have any comments, questions, suggestions, just let me know. And yeah, have a great day, everybody. Thank you.